They tossed her into the dirt like trash, laughed in her face. Even the sergeant thought she was finished, until she shattered his hold in seconds. What happened next left the entire field frozen in silence. The bus groaned to a stop. Dust swirled up from the cracked road, hanging in the air like a veil. Ava pressed her palm against the cool glass of the window. The watch on her wrist had a cracked face, its hands frozen at 2:17. She had found it years ago in a box of her father's things, and it had never worked. Still, she wore it. A reminder of time lost, of promises broken. Move, recruits. The sergeant's voice thundered before the doors even opened. Boots shuffled nervously in the aisle. Some whispered. Others smirked. Ava stood quietly, her bag hanging heavy from her shoulder. Her empty wallet sat inside, the last thing her mother had slipped into her hand before she left home. The air outside hit like fire. Rows of barracks, ropes, and walls stretched across the training ground. Everything looked sharp, unforgiving. The recruits lined up. Ava placed her bag carefully at her boots. She could feel the stares. Whispers brushed past her like gnats. She won't last a week. Look at her arms. No strength. Dead weight. Ava kept her eyes forward. She had heard it before. At home, her brothers laughed when she said she would enlist. Her neighbors had muttered she would be back before the month was over. Too soft, too quiet, too small. The sergeant's shadow fell over her. Name? His voice was gravel. Ava Carter, sir. Her words came steady, though her chest felt tight. You think you belong here? Yes, sir. His smirk said more than words. The day unraveled in sweat and shouting. Gear checks, push-ups in the dirt, packs heavier than most recruits could manage. Some cursed, some stumbled. Ava stayed silent. She counted her breaths. In, out, step, push, endure. At the obstacle wall, someone laughed loud enough for others to hear. She won't make it halfway. Her palms gripped the rope. Her boots dug into the wood. Every muscle in her arms burned. She climbed anyway. At the top, she swung over and landed. The laughter stopped. That night, the barracks smelled of sweat and metal. Bodies dropped into bunks like stones. Ava lay still, staring at the ceiling. Her body ached, but inside a fire stirred. She had survived day one, not because she was the strongest, not because she was the fastest, but because she refused to stay down. Tomorrow would come, and with it more whispers, more laughter, but she would answer them in silence. The cracked watch ticked in her memory, though it had no hands that moved, and outside, the dusty road stretched toward a dawn that promised more pain. The sun rose merciless, heat shimmering off the asphalt. Sweat dripped into Ava's collar before the first whistle even blew. Today, the sergeant barked. We find out who belongs. Push-ups, sprints, crawls under wire. The ground tore at her elbows. Dust filled her lungs. Ava moved with steady rhythm, ignoring the grunts and shoves of bigger recruits. She didn't compete with them. She competed only with herself. At the crawl, her boot snagged on a root. She twisted, lost balance, and slammed into the mud face first. Laughter erupted behind her. Spa's that way, princess. Better quit now. Her cheek burned with grit. She clenched fists into the dirt. Her instinct screamed to snap back. Instead, she dragged herself forward, mud streaking her uniform. The sergeant's boots blocked her path. His shadow cut across her frame. Pathetic, Carter. You like eating dirt. Drop and give me 50. Snickers circled her as she pressed into the mud. Her arms shook by 20. Her chest heaved at 30. At 40, her vision blurred, but she refused to collapse. At 50, she rose, mud dripping from her hands. At water break, whispers followed again. She's a goner. Worst in the batch. Ava sipped from her canteen back against the wall. She didn't reply. She let the words sink into the quiet place where her fire lived. That night, she lay awake while others snored. The mud had been scrubbed from her skin, but its weight lingered. Every insult hardened inside her. Tomorrow would be worse. But she would not rise to their bait. She would answer with silence, with survival.combat day. Recruits paired off, sweat already running before the first whistle. Some fought like brawlers, fists flying wild. Others grinned as they pinned smaller recruits into the dirt. Ava Carter. Daniels. The sergeant barked. Daniels stepped forward, arms thick as tree trunks, grin cruel. Lucky me, he muttered. He had mocked her for weeks. Careful, Carter, don't break a nail. The whistle cut sharp. He lunged, his hands clamping like iron. Ava's boots kicked helplessly as he lifted her. He slammed her into the dirt. Pain shot through her back. The dust rose. Laughter exploded around them. Trash toss. Ragdoll. Daniels raised his arms in mock victory. Before she could rise, he yanked her up again. Let's see if you fly twice. He hurled her down harder. The laughter sharpened, crueler. Even the sergeant smirked faintly, arms folded. Ava's body screamed. Her ribs throbbed. Dust pressed cold against her cheek. To them, she looked broken. To her, it was calculation. She lay still, listening to cicadas in the distance. She remembered her father's words. Every silence has its storm. She pushed herself up, slow, deliberate. The laughter faltered. Daniels frowned. What's the point, Carter? Stay down. She met his eyes for the first time. No words, only silence. The sergeant raised his hand. Again. The crowd leaned in, eager for the punchline. Ava's stance wavered, but her eyes stayed locked. She hadn't unleashed what she knew. Not yet. Not until the right moment. Daniels grinned as he shoved her back, certain she was beaten. The crowd roared with cruel amusement. Then the sergeant's boots moved. Carter. His voice cut like steel. Ava straightened. Yes, sir. You think you belong here? Yes, sir. Prove it, he stepped forward. His arms coiled around her torso like steel cables. Her ribs compressed. Breath escaped in short gasps. The recruits buzzed. She won't last 5 seconds. He'll crush her ribs. Ava's boots scraped in the dirt. The sergeant squeezed harder. That all you got, Carter? Stand there like a rag doll? His breath was hot at her ear. This isn't playtime. This is war, her lungs screamed. Every instinct begged her to thrash. But she went still. Her breathing slowed. She waited. She remembered her coach's voice from years ago. Don't panic. Stillness wins fights. Every hold has a weakness. The sergeant mistook her silence for weakness. The recruits thought she was fading. Daniel smirked, arms folded at the fence. But her silence wasn't surrender. It was defiance. She adjusted her footing, slow, deliberate. Energy coiled in her chest like thunder waiting to break. The storm was coming. The crack in the dam appeared. His weight pressed heavy, his stance overcommitted. Ava's eyes sharpened. She moved. Surgical, precise. Her hips twisted sharply. Her shoulder dropped. His balance faltered for a fraction. That was all she needed. Her leg coiled like a spring. She thrust upward, elbow jamming into the crook of his grip. The hold snapped. Gasps tore through the recruits. Before he could recover, she seized his arm, pivoted her hips, and flipped him clean over her shoulder. The sergeant hit the dirt with a thud that echoed. Dust rose around him. The field froze. Silence heavier than stone. He groaned, stunned, staring up at her. How? He muttered. Ava didn't answer. She didn't need to. The recruits whispered, voices sharp with awe. She broke it. Not luck, training. Daniel's smirk collapsed into unease. His throat went dry. Ava stood steady, brushing dust from her arms. No gloating, no smile, just composure. The sergeant rose slowly, pride bruised. For the first time, his eyes flickered, not with anger, but respect. You've been holding back, he said, voice low. Her silence was the answer. And the recruits realized they hadn't seen weakness. They had seen a storm in waiting. The field was frozen. The recruits stared at Ava as if seeing her for the first time. Daniel's fists clenched at his sides. His pride screamed for denial, but inside, respect burned bitter. The sergeant's voice carried. You mocked her. You wrote her off. And she broke a hold most of you would never escape. Size isn't strength. Appearances aren't truth. Remember this. Silence pressed heavy. Not mocking now. Not dismissive. Recognition. Ava stood calm. The broken watch on her wrist caught the sun. The hand still frozen, but her time had come. Daniels muttered. That wasn't supposed to happen. But even he knew it had. The recruits shifted uneasily, their gazes no longer scornful. Some nodded quietly. Others looked away, ashamed. Ava felt their eyes, not with ridicule, but with respect. When the drills resumed, no one mocked her. No one whispered. Every step she took, silence followed, a silence carved from awe. At dusk, the sergeant placed a heavy hand on her shoulder. You've earned your place here, Carter. Don't ever doubt it, she nodded. Words weren't needed. She turned toward the barracks, boots crunching against the dusty road. The empty wallet lay inside her bag, light as paper, yet heavy with meaning. She would send something home one day. Proof she had lasted. Proof she had endured. Her lips curved faintly, not triumph, not arrogance. Just a quiet smile. She had survived, risen, and carved her place in silence. And in that silence, respect was etched into the dirt, unshakable as the ground beneath her boots.